base here. The Eagle has landed.
Button. All right. Check one, check two. This is it. All right. Welcome to the Cannabis Coffee Hour.
I like that.
With your host, me, Rob Cantrell. Oh man, I have an exciting episode, a dope episode, a environmental episode, a earth-loving episode, a hemp episode, a farming episode. I have a guest here from Lancashire Hemp. Lancashire Hemp is the company. I have a cup of their tea right here, and I am with the head farmer, the founder, the owner of Lancashire Hemp.
You're gonna struggle. It's all right.
Please give it up for the one and only Caleb Kauffman, everybody. Caleb Kauffman. Caleb.
Hello. Caleb is a good way that most people pronounce it, but I have been called Caleb, Caleb. It doesn't matter to me. I'm a human in the universe.
Yes, you are. You are an organic human in the universe, and I apologize for my 900 SAT education. Okay, so Caleb, I got it in my head not to mess up your name because it sounds biblical. I dig it. Caleb Kauffman.
It is, I guess. If it's easier, you can call me Cub. That's like my nickname from birth, so that might make it simpler.
Oh, cool. Cub's a cool name as well. All right, Cub. But you're the president. We gotta call you Caleb. I mean, you're running this thing, and I do think the environment, the economy, as we're getting out of COVID-19, I really think you're in a position to take, I don't know, even society into a next. Do you feel what I'm feeling or talking about? It seems like, this. I'm moving a little bit too fast. Caleb?
No, you're not. I know exactly what you mean. And yes, 1000%.
Yeah, Caleb but this is what's fascinating about your story. Caleb is working in Pennsylvania with Amish farmers. And I love the Amish. I don't know that many of them, but I'm not big onto technology. I love dirt. I love the earth. I love hanging with frogs. I love building stuff. I totally get the Amish. I totally get the simplicity. I do think life is simple, just like the breath. And moving forward, I think when somebody pitched me to interview you, my mind was blown. It was almost too much to take in. Am I getting any of this right, Caleb?
Yeah, sounds good. I'm listening.
I'll let you talk. Give me a little bit about your background. You're in Pennsylvania. Are you from this town? Are you from Lancashire?
Yeah. So we are from Lancaster County. So the company that we have is Lancashire Hemp, but we are from Lancaster County. I actually came up with the name, with a friend of mine one evening when we were smoking. And I was like, man, Lancaster really does look like the Shire from Lord of the Rings. And we were like, dude, Lancashire, perfect combination, because that's what we have here. We've got beautiful rolling hills, we've got farmland, we've got simplicity. And yes, I was born and raised here in Lancaster County.
Love it. Yeah, it is a beautiful part of the country. I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I was born in D.C., but I lived in the South, and my dad was from this small town in Southern Virginia, Pound, Virginia. And my mom was from Michigan. So we always would visit Michigan, and I would always drive through Pennsylvania, and I went to college in Ohio. So I know the Midwest, it is a beautiful, they called it, during the summer, it's God's country out there. It literally is rolling hills and Pocono mountains. Like there's mountains, there's nature, there's everything there.
Yeah.
And coming out of Pennsylvania is, you get the Rust Belt. So there is some economic downturning, but in terms of environment, you're turning it up out there. Am I right?
We are trying, definitely. Yeah, a big part of what we want to do in the cannabis industry would be, definitely helping save the world. And I have that, kind of in our bio. And I'm not joking. Yes, I believe we can save the world with cannabis via hemp, via high THC. All of it. We're talking, we can save the planet, we can save people's minds, we can just lift society out of kind of the dark time that we're currently in.
I agree. I do think with cannabis, in terms of the environmental, especially hemp, I'm really interested in how they make plastic out of hemp. I'm very in terms of, I've been hearing a lot about regenerative farming about hemp, regenerative farming. That's the new buzz term in terms of environmentalists. I'm hearing a lot. So I do think it will save the planet or help save the planet. I don't think it's the end all, but in terms of mental health that is happening right now with the internet, I think people are being raised in a very weird time with so much media being pushed into their skull that in terms of, I really see cannabis, CBD, meditation, yoga, getting back into the body, getting back into health, getting back into the simplicity of life. Which is a beautiful and miracle that we're even floating on this planet, luckily, so it's like we got away from all of that. And now we're all kind of figuring it all out again, coming out of this COVID-19. Now, how long have you been a farming company?
So we started back, well, it would have been 2019 was the first year you were legally allowed to plant hemp in the United States, since it was, re-legalized, we'll say.
Yes. So 2019, you jumped off. And
I'll start with a little backstory, if that's okay. Just kind of, it's always important to me. I like to preface, that's how my brain works, of why are we here? How did we get here? What was the journey? So just a short kind of snippet was my late 20s. I was diagnosed with PTSD because I remembered over 20 years later that I was sexually abused as a child. And that set me down this crazy path of like healing, love, and vulnerability. I started going to counseling. That's when I was first introduced to CBD specifically. Obviously, back in high school, I used to smoke lots of weed, probably just like every other person in high school. But then as I journeyed through adulthood, that wasn't something I did until, kind of being diagnosed, started taking CBD and was like, this literally is saving my life and helping me walk through this really difficult journey of trauma healing. And so I was just set, like, I have to be in this industry. I am an entrepreneur, so my brain is always like big picture, looking ahead. And I just saw it coming. I was like, this is going to be huge. Like, this is going to help people. It's going to help the planet. So I started doing my research, and when 2019 hit, I was ready to go and started planting and did a little greenhouse at my in-laws' farm. And that is how Lancashire got started.
Lancashire. Oh, Caleb, you're so brave to bring this up and how you found it. In terms of, like, again, I do think with mental health and what we are kind of opening up beyond a dark age in terms of power and manipulation. I think sexuality is tied in all of that. And it seems to be a certain type of awakening. And I felt it with this podcast. And I started, I got arrested for pot in 2007 in New York City. I did 3 nights in the Tombs for a half a joint. The Tombs is right before where you go to Rikers. And I've never been in trouble. I'm a goofball stand-up. I'm just like, pretty much the same cut American goofball kid. And all of a sudden I was looking at Rikers for a half a joint, so that's where I kind of started going all in and being like, dude, this is not, I'm just trying to do the American dream here. And I know a lot of people are, and I'm getting shut down just for a half a joint because I don't want to drink alcohol. I don't want to go into society's alcohol, party, titties, beer, fratted up, all that shit that's been programmed into our society since the 50s almost.
Yeah.
I'm down for living like a hobbit. I dig exactly where you're going with, man. I want some goats. I want to live in a tree house. I want to ride a buffalo. Why aren't there any buffaloes around?
Oh my gosh, have you seen that guy on a buffalo video? We'll go on a little side trail.
Yeah, I do. You'll have to bring me back. You're the businessman, Caleb. I'll go side trail all day. But I did live in San Francisco in my early 20s, and that's the best pot. That was where the best pot was in the early 2000s. It still is really good weed. But they were very from an East Coast kid to go out there to California and see what San Francisco is about. And
Right.
that was where we got the best pot cookies were, and this was when cannabis was still illegal, was from the gay communities. I knew a guy that was cooking cookies for AIDS patients since the 80s.
Wow.
He had
What
the
a
best.
beautiful thing.
Yeah, beautiful thing. Beautiful. He was just making pot brownies for AIDS patients since, and then it was highly illegal. It must have been,
Yeah.
super scary, even though you're in California. But it is exactly what, if you have AIDS or cancer, you definitely need some hemp and some cannabis laying around just to get through the pain without
Yeah.
dealing with some of these, sicko, pharmaceutical companies that have been really fucking up, ravaging our country for the
Yes.
last 10 years. So what was it? Oh, I saw Golden, Golden. If you ever get to Golden Gate Park, there's a part in Golden Gate Park where there's 5 buffalo. They have a field.
Okay. That's how we got there. All right.
That's how we got there. So I'm just saying, if you ever seen a buffalo, it is really trippy, man. They're like dinosaurs, but they
Yeah.
represent America. They they're kind of died off. And I see you kind of resurging and being a farmer and bringing, like, okay, how are you doing this with the Amish? Are you Amish?
I am not Amish, but so my last name is Kauffman. And if you know anything about kind of Amish lineage, Kauffman is definitely in my heritage. So my grandmother, she died a Mennonite, and her parents would have been Amish growing up. So she grew up Amish. So I am a couple generations removed, but not too distant. The household that I grew up in was not Amish, but it basically could have been minus the clothing. So I lived in a very small bubble here for quite a few years. Obviously, had a lot of trauma from that, journeyed out of that. But again, there's a lot of goodness here in Lancaster. So you've got to, there's good with the bad. And I choose to focus on the positive things because, man, you can always focus on the negative. There is always something to be negative about. But on the flip side, if you look for the good, you will always find it as well.
It's
So
all there, yeah.
yeah, finding the good in my own roots, in my own dirt here, is important. And there's definitely a healing that's happening, we'll say, in the land in general, and also, in my personal spaces at the same time. So it's pretty sweet.
Very sweet. And I'm having your tea right now, and it's awesome. I'm
Good.
very into
Good.
health. And I have high blood pressure. Like I said, my family's hardcore from the South. There's a town I'm related to everybody in Virginia.
Yep.
Like everybody's my cousin. All right. That's where I come from. So I know small town politics, and I also know the beauty, the brutality of small town politics, but also the beauty of it as well.
Yeah.
So there is beauty in it, in the simplicity of family life and having good oxygen and having good trees. And if you're an intelligent person and understand that I don't know, I can't say what I'm saying is because I live in Brooklyn, I run to the park. I need nature. I really think nature is a part of our mental health.
Yeah. I think as human beings, we all do. And we have forgotten how to, I like to say, we've forgotten how to speak with nature.
Yeah.
I do believe that we've lost the art of that. And, the indigenous tribes that, we took over here and wiped out had that knowledge, and we discarded it. And I do believe we are in an age of awakening where it sounds like you're experiencing that same. There's something happening in the universe. I truly believe that. And I believe there is a literal portal that's being opened, and just energy is being poured into the earth. I don't know if you saw, we'll go on a rabbit trail on the space hurricane. Did you see any pictures of the space hurricane that happened?
Break down the space hurricane. I'm interested though.
Well, I'm not a scientist. I'll just tell you what I saw and read a couple articles, but apparently there was recent in 2014, I guess it was captured, and they just discovered the imagery as they were going back through, probably researching and just looking at all the data. And there was a giant, literal, like, hurricane looking thing in space over planet Earth, and it looks like a giant like spiral portal. It's pretty crazy. And they were saying that it literally had been raining electrons through this event that happened over Earth. And I'm like, dude, that is, something is reaching out from space. We are in a time of awakening. And I truly believe that. And I'm doing my part, you're doing your part. And I think we're going to head in the right direction and heal the world.
Yeah. We should hear the world. And, but I don't think it's a one pill take all. And I do think there's a lot of research for cannabis, like just being an older cat. And I was more of a drinker in high school. And then cannabis kind of got me out of that funk.
Yeah.
And when I found cannabis in college, I was like, what the fuck's this corny drinking shit? I want to just do bong hits and watch Star Trek and make beats.
Yep.
And do creative stuff and be kind and look at trees and enjoy nature and feel the sunshine on my face. Like those are the magical moments.
Very true.
But at the same time, with mental health and the access to hardcore, psychedelic cannabis, I worry about the youth a little bit. Like I do think, I tell little cousins, everybody I know, like, wait till you're 21. Wait till your brain is still growing. Your brain is so powerful. I think the whole universe is inside our brain.
Yeah.
And as much as I want to heal everybody else, this pandemic has helped me go inward. And when I meditate, I go way into my heart and way into it. And I try to heal myself, because I think the judgment and the anger and the versus mentality has really, tied a knot, and we're trying to make this all work. But there seems to be this weird knot in terms of, Black Lives Matter or Trump or in politics. I don't even want to go into it all, but, it's going to take us all to talk to each other and actually have some compassion and understand each other.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. There's a lot of hard lines being drawn right now. And, I made a joke to a friend the other day. I was like, yeah, you remember when it wasn't such a big deal to have a disagreement? You remember when that just wasn't a big deal, where you're like, oh yeah, we disagree. Now it's like, man, draw the battle lines. We disagree. Like, am I going to speak with you? How am I going to interact around you? And hopefully cannabis will offer a safe space for the conversation. That's kind of what I'd like to see happen. And part of what cannabis can do is create a safe space to say, hey, it seems to be some sort of a middle ground right now. And I think that's, a gift from the planet, and we need to use it and say, all right, let's just have these conversations. Emotions are hard. I know, I just turned 35. And I feel like, because of, my journey and my trauma, I'm like 10 years old emotionally. You know what I mean? Like, I am emotionally trying to learn how to put words to my feelings. Cannabis helps me do that. Microdosing helps me do that. And just kind of working through that. And it seems like we're all doing that as adults now, in our 30s, being like, holy shit, what just happened to me? As in, I grew up and here I am, and all of a sudden now coronavirus, and you're just like, wow, we need to figure some stuff out here.
Yeah. And usually the answers are right in front of our face, and it's usually the simplest, just straight up, being kind to yourself and thinking about the next moment. And, that's the thing about cannabis. And as much as I love to fantasize about, paradise on earth or whatever you want to talk about it, there only is what is now. That's what I've been getting. The only thing that matters is this moment. That's the only thing that's really
all we ever have.
That's all we have. And it is forever. But there's going to be other moments. So we're just preparing ourselves. I always try to set my future self up. Like, okay, I got to make some difficult moves now, but think of myself at 50 years old, and I'm drinking cannabis tea instead of drinking Dr. Pepper that my dad drank, or alcohol, or, scotch or whiskey. Not that any of these things are bad, but cannabis is an option not to take the routes. And sometimes those if you're boozing hardcore whiskey at age 60, I don't know how, people could get by it, but I feel I'm almost 50 now, and I still feel 20, because I stopped drinking when I was 22 and just hit cannabis the whole freaking time. The whole ride has been coffee and weed since the get-go.
Yeah.
But I have a family and stuff, so I haven't gone hard on psychedelics since my early 20s. My first You want to know the first time I took ecstasy?
Yes, let's hear it.
It was at a Jamiroquai concert. That's how old I am. I don't know. Do you know Jamiroquai?
I do not even know.
Oh yeah, then you don't even. It's like a almost disco funk. Yeah, if
Okay.
anybody, yeah, it's a little bit cheesy, but not to go into. I want to talk more about farming and the Amish. Caleb,
Yes,
tell me about.
I feel like I do. I'll say this. I've got a lot of things and goodness to offer in the sense of there's just so many. What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about how I work with the Amish? Do you want to talk about how we do the co-op at Lancashire? More personal.
Both of those, yeah.
What do we want to do?
Go personal, because I do think that your story is so brave, and I do think people are listening right now saying, "Man, I went through the same type of shit, and we're all dealing with it." Okay, so I get it, but let's go from Amish to the business, and then a little bit of personal, and then we'll do a couple goof offs at the end, and we're done.
Perfect. All right, so working with the Amish, so really. Man, yeah, it's an interesting spot because, kind of my heritage and my name, to be honest, gives me some privilege around here. Just say what it is. I am a white male with the last name Kauffman living in Lancaster County.
All right.
It's easy for me to do things because of that. And I acknowledge it, but I also want to use it to create space for everyone. And that is literally our mentality around here is I say it's about the we, not the me. I don't like to call myself the owner specifically. I call myself the founder because Lancashire is bigger than me. It is, we've got a whole co-op of 15 Amish farmers. We've got, a couple of different team members here in-house. We got an orange team, blue team, purple team. We total about 10 to 12 people a week. And then, the network grows from there to our retail wholesale partners because we truly do take a different approach to business, period. We don't do capitalistic garbage. I like to call it socialistic capitalism. It's okay to make money. Let's be kind about it. Let's be fair about it. Let's give everyone a piece of the pie. So I kind of took that mentality, which fits perfectly with the Amish community because that's really what they do. Finances in the Amish world are very interesting in the sense of there's a really cool accountability. Obviously, typical stories of, people would be like, oh yeah, if a barn burns down a day later, the Amish community builds it back up. That type of mentality is what we're all about. So it was, kind of the synergy was there to work with the Amish once they kind of got to know me more, building relationships over a couple of years and just showing up and being real and honest and being like, yeah, this guy, we can trust him, not trying to rip us off. And honestly, that's a lot of what it's about, just building that trust with people.
Having real relationships with people. That is what really, I did do sales early on and, it was hardcore, like million phone calls. But what you do learn, not the you do learn that it comes down to relationships. Like if they know you and they trust you and you haven't been shady on the money, you can't call these Amish guys. You have to go and visit with them and build the rapport with them. And
a lot of farmer meetings, going out to farms, so basically like what I was able to offer was, as hemp came into the scene, if you want to grow hemp right now, you have to have a permit. So there's permitting, there's paperwork that involves getting background checks. These are all things that in the Amish community are a lot more difficult. Most Amish don't even have a photo ID. There's some exceptions where some do. Some have photoless IDs. So there's a lot of practicalities of saying, hey, if the Amish community wants to get into hemp, most of them are going to need some help doing the practical paperwork side. So that was one of the things that I saw immediately and was like, man, what a cool position to be if I could kind of facilitate this. Again, it's not even about me. It's just creating a space for everybody to say, if I have a gift that I can offer and facilitate and kind of lead it, everyone else is on board. They do their part. And, Amish farmers know how to grow stuff like really, really, really well. The soil around here is some of the best in the world. Like we've got a lot to offer from an agricultural standpoint. So it was like, man, let's connect the dots here, build some trust and see what we can do together.
Oh, brilliant, Caleb. I think this is so brilliant. And yeah, I just have this imagery of these the Amish farmers just getting down with their hands dirty and growing this hemp for the seed. I'm having the glass of tea. It's not psychoactive. It's literally body. I feel good. It tastes good. I feel the nature when I open the bag. Yeah, it smells a little bit like cannabis, but everybody knows cannabis is one of the best smells. If you want to talk about smells, it's one of the best smells you could get.
Agreed.
So it makes me calm down, and I could tell that it lowers my blood pressure, which is amazing. The Amish farmers, I do find that fascinating. How are they like in the Amish community? They don't smoke, they don't do drugs, they're not into caffeine, except for Devil's Night. I saw that one movie where you can party when you're 19 and go nuts.
So basically, the Amish community surprisingly is a lot more progressive probably than people would expect. And I will say, like, sure, progressive to a point. Yeah. But they never left plant-based medicine. If you think about it, Amish are not into pharmaceuticals. They don't do, hospital visits unless it's an emergency. So they had knowledge from just, what type of herbs and stuff like that, just as natural plant-based medicine.
Yeah, totally. Like oregano is good for your stomach, or there is like we can grow good aloe that's just a better solve as any of this chapstick that the stuff. The plants do have everything, not everything, but
literally though, you can find a plant for almost any kind of ailment. And honestly, where do you think the pharmaceuticals got those ideas from? They took it from plants and said, let's make a synthetic version that we can mass produce to society. And now obviously we're having that awakening, being like, well, that's not good for us. And we're all having, like anxiety attacks and breaking down and just being like years after.
And these weird things. Like I would say, in Virginia, when I would go visit my grandmother, there was like a pipe in the small town. It was in the Appalachian Mountains, but there was a pipe outside of the mountain and it would just pour spring water. And I remember drinking the water out of it. And I was born in 72. This is like 76. But I specifically remember the taste of that water being so clean and so full of minerals and so just like, oh my God, just like the good shit. I think through the 80s and 70s and 90s, everything got so processed and so capitalized that nutrition was off. Media was off. I think like internet pornography, I think is fake and weird. I think the snacks are fake and weird. I think, people aren't living real lives or as real, or that's what I've been getting to. Like, it's not about, life isn't about pleasure. It's not about pain. It's about living. Like, how can you really live? And relationships is a part of that, and love and emotions and growing and sharing this stuff. So you've been in business for like a year with these guys, and you compile all of the hemp together, and then you're packaging it in tea, right?
So we do a lot. We pretty not everything, but we've got tea, we've got tinctures, we've got smokable premium flower. We make vape cartridges. So we do a good mixture of everything. We want to find, a way that it fits everyone's lifestyle, because some people, they don't want to smoke. Some people, they want to smoke. So it's whatever version, fits your lifestyle. We're going to grow it, process it as a co-op and offer it to the world.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm having the tea right now. The tincture is, a great, but I will say one of the things that, just as I grow older and I have more shit to do, I do like to smoke pot. I like to roll joints. I like to do the whole thing. And I used some of your CBD. My thing is I take some sour diesel, take some of this new high premium thing, but then I mixed in my CBD, so I'm not out of the park after one hit. Stuff is so strong these days that, mixing it with a good, healthy CBD is, somewhat of a benefit. That's my little tip to the young bucks.
No, you're right. Because right now we don't have a good, we'll say a 1-for-1 from a plant-based perspective, just because the restrictions on growing hemp right now, you're not allowed to have hardly any THC in it, which is fine. But it would be great. I think the writings on the wall will be full recreational legal as a nation soon. And hopefully at that point we can see better ratios to say, hey, we can actually breed a genetic that does 10% CBD and 10% THC and offer that, because you're right. Not everyone needs a high THC flower for their needs. That's fun. Sometimes maybe Friday night or weekend, or maybe some people, that's what they need medicinally. But there's a whole lot of other people.
Yeah, totally.
Don't.
Sometimes the dab culture, like I don't rag on that, just because sometimes you need, if you want to wipe away the pain, I would definitely try dabs before, Percocets.
That's a fun way to put it. Wipe away the pain.
Wipe away the pain. Those dabs are pretty strong, but at the same time, the CBD and the flower, that's what I was gonna say. We're at 15 states fully legal right now. And Switzerland, I like Switzerland. I haven't been there, but I'm part Swiss, so I have a little bit of but their whole thing with cannabis is they sell weed, but it's high CBD. So I think if America went to hey man, as I always say, people are going to smoke weed. That's just, I don't know why they make it illegal. It's like, people are going to smoke weed. People are going to be gay. Yep. That's just the gig, man. It's America. It's just the human concept. Some people are going to be gay. Some people are going to smoke weed. You're not going to break that. Yep. So making laws against that, you're just going to set people up for suffering. But I do like.
You are exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah, you're just setting them up.
Silly too. It's such a funny thing. I'm in talks right now with quite a few representatives on a state level and working on potentially changing the current marijuana laws in Pennsylvania, and in live talks with some really good people that are kind of on that same mindset. And I was doing some writing the other day, and that was one thing that came to me. I was like, why don't we make laws that actually bring joy and uplift people, instead of writing laws that create fear and hostility? We have the option to do that as a state and nation. There's no rule book that says our laws have to be negative, that they have to push people down. Why don't we build laws that lift everybody up, create space for everybody?
Yeah, I think the pursuit of happiness, I still believe in this country, and I still believe, and I know people are good at their heart. At the end of the day, if you strip a regular man down if you just take everything away, at the end of the day, people are good. At their core of their core, it's just, manipulation and power and growing up and where you're at in life. Sometimes people tend to take dark turns. But we can lift each other up, and we can have laws that are more positive and not, but at the same time, we have to protect people. We have to protect people. I'm not full on no government, no this. People gotta, I gotta get to school. Life is real. People gotta pay bills. Life is going to happen. People are going to break their neck, going to roll their ankle. Cancer is going to happen. All kinds of shit's going to be happening. But I do think cannabis could be a graceful way to, get out of life a little bit less beat up.
Enjoy it a little more. Let's make it easier for ourselves.
Yes, to find out who we really are and grow into, nature just is unlimited when you let it do its thing.
Yeah, very true.
Now we talked about with the finance. So you're in a year. Do you have a store? Break it down. You do have a store. I'm starting to see hemp stores being a more thing. I'm seeing this in little towns. I'm seeing local hemp stores. What's happening, Caleb?
Yeah. So right now we don't have a brick and mortar store just because we are a younger company. So let's see, 2019, again, I started Lancashire. It was in my basement, honestly. And for the first year, and then once we kind of grew, I moved that out. Now we have our own facility. We don't have a store yet, but we've got a website, so you can buy stuff there. And then locally, we are spreading our wings to just partner with other shops in the area, mom and pop shops, smoke shops, health and wellness, and kind of just offering that same type of partnership in the sense of we give, and this isn't a sales pitch, it's a mentality again of, we want everyone to succeed. We want everyone to share in the pie. So if we actually have a real relationship with a store and say, hey, let's talk about the pricing. Here's what we would need to make and we feel good about. What do you need to make and feel good about? And then also make sure we're including the end buyer and saying, you know, we want people to be able to get this stuff without having to spend a lot of money because it is a medicine. So let's make it affordable so more people can get the care they need. So that's really where we're at now, is trying to grow more partnerships with more stores so we can, again, offer those better kind of products and prices to people, because the cannabis industry right now, honestly, is a little, it's a little like cutthroat, you know, like it's all, a lot of people in it are about the top dollar. And it's kind of a shame. And I always say very ironic that of all the industries to be kind of backstabbing and cutthroat, it should not be cannabis. You know, we should be trying to get this out there in a more positive way and not just make it about money.
Yeah, it's not, I 100%. And I think that ties into small business. And I do think, you know, the pursuit of happiness. And I do think whatever you put into your mind, you could really make happen in this life. The mind is a whole other trip that I don't think we've even tapped into, you know?
Yeah.
And I think what you're doing is talking about small business, which is ideally the best. I'm just getting the word out on the street because I worked for High Times. Like, these big companies are coming in trying, because everybody sees the writing on the wall. The Republicans smoke weed, the Democrats smoke weed, everybody smokes weed. It's going to be legal as soon as it's cornballs from the older generation get out of the way. But at the same time, when super industrial capitalistic cannabis, the quality of the cannabis goes down, the soul of the product goes down, and even the effects. I could tell when I'm smoking weed from a sketchy grower. No, but I always say this about businesses. I know when I walk into a store, I could tell if the person running the store is a dick. Like, right. There's just vibes. Everything has vibes. And I do think with cannabis, it's very important that, you know, the small local vibe, like by buying Lancashire Hemp, everybody going to their website and buying their tea, you're supporting American small business. Okay. Amazon doesn't need any more money. Walmart doesn't need any more anymore. You know who needs more money? Caleb and his employees.
And I will distribute it fairly. You can trust that.
Yeah, no, I could tell. And I totally, you're 100% right. When you're about the almighty dollar in terms of profitability, but like, oh, I can get hemp. You know, I got these Amish guys. I could grow this for free all day. I'll just charge, you know, $50 because the block is hot right now. That is just, you know, that's terrible. And like you're saying is like, if you bring cannabis in your life, it is kind of a long haul. Like, I think I'm just going to be smoked. That's just who I am. Mm-hmm. As a person, I know myself well enough that I'm going to have cannabis around to, especially during my old age. I want cannabis around.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah. But at the same time, there's a time to make money. And I'm just telling the kids, sometimes you got to focus, like my man, Caleb, you can't be taking, you know, super blunts to the dome every morning and try to go run a business that people are going to invest $1 million into. And
that's true. I'll say it. I don't even smoke until evening time. So in Pennsylvania, we're still under the marijuana or medical marijuana laws. So if you want to smoke, you have to have a medical card. I don't even smoke during the daytime for that reason, because it's like, hey, nothing wrong with it, but there's stuff to be done. I want to be clear-headed. A lot of people are entrusting a lot of things to me, and I never take that lightly. In almost the bad extent of, you know, it can be stressful to say, hey, I'm going to take charge. Here's an idea. Let's all jump in. And then at the end of the day, I'm the one that everybody's looking to, you know, especially finances, because let's be honest, we all got to eat. We all got to pay our bills, like you're saying. So there's a lot.
And being broke sucks. I've been broke and it sucks. Being broke sucks. Money isn't the goal, but you know, happiness and having a full belly and just being able to do what you do and could sleep through the night without any fucking drama is the end result. That's what we all want.
Yep.
And I just think it's awesome that you're starting this company and you're getting out there. Your PR person reached out to me and you got on the Cannabis Coffee Hour. I'm going to spread the love about your tea. Everybody, Lancashire, this is great tea. As I get older, my things are, I don't know if you know about the 5 Tibetan rites. I've been doing these stretches. They're called the Fountain of Youth, but they're these
Okay.
stretches. But check them out.
I will.
Check those out. They've been helping me during the pandemic. Like, and they're
Okay.
super easy, and they're not macho. It's all what monks would do right before they would meditate. They would do these 5 stretches that stretch everything. Like, and it's not hardcore. It's really cool. But then
I like the sound of that.
yeah, I think you would dig it, Caleb. I think you would dig it. As a person going into their 30s and 40s, you start looking around because your body starts to fall apart. Your mind's going great, but I always think the body is a temple, and
Yeah,
you have,
1000%.
yeah, I mean, it's just like you're given this life that it's amazing. I could talk, I could do Zooms, I could make beats, I could, this is such a gift that, health is just, I'm not the perfect, but I just know health and mind, it's all connected,
Everything is one, and you're right. The body's a temple, and I was saying the other day, it's like, man, we just take our bodies for, like for granted. Every morning you wake up and you get to do what you want to do in your body. And how many times a day, for me, do I stop and just say, hey, thank you, body, for letting me be here, carrying me around the planet all the time. You don't ask for anything. And, we just kind of take it for granted.
Yeah, we get it all for free. We get this amazing ride. We get to see all these great, beautiful things, mountains, butterflies, smells, tastes, love, pain, all of it. And we get to process it all. And it's such a cool ride. It's not easy. I'm sure people are suffering out there right now.
Yeah, there is suffering, but that's part of it,
Part of it. That's a part of it. But I do think by introducing cannabis, I don't think it's the end all, but I do think society would be a nicer society, a kinder society if cannabis was legal. I really think that. And I think that environmentally, going back to farm to table, going back to growing our own tomatoes, our own peppers, setting up our own communities, taking care of kids, all of it, taking care of our families, financially and with our health and our mental health, it's all connected. And you're kind of, I was laughing that the Kauffman name is big in the Amish. You're like the Kennedys in the Amish. Like, it's like Boston and the Kennedys. The Kauffmans are in the Amish in Lancashire. I think it's
a well-known name around here, so it's funny.
Do the Amish smoke pot or do they not?
A lot of the Amish do smoke hemp, so like a lot of the guys that grow it, they'll use it. But then there's a good portion that don't smoke it. So yeah, it's maybe a 50-50.
Yeah, that's just like I got plenty of friends that shouldn't smoke pot, I got plenty of people that don't and shouldn't, but some people should, so it's just so everybody's a little bit different and everybody's figuring this all out. And to have this blanket statement, I think with racism, with everything, to have these ultimate blanket statements is really doing us a disfavor.
Agreed. Yeah, I think everyone should have the right to choose how they handle their mental health. And that's really all we're after, is to say, wherever you're at, that's fine, like be there, but then also have the freedom just to choose. Specifically with cannabis, obviously that's a big tool that people can use, to help with mental health.
Man, Caleb, I won't take too much more of your time, but I do think it's very.
I'm having fun, so let's keep going. Whatever. Should we move on to some personal then?
I had a thought in my brain before I was just going to ask you about, the Amish. I was super interested. The environmental. Oh, so you just started in 2019. So the cannabis industry is, like you said, it's a little bit of a gold fever, what is the gold rush?
Yep.
It kind of has this gold rush. So everybody's just like, yeah, I'll just open a dispensary. But what people are finding out right now, you can't just make money opening a dispensary. It's a very complicated market right now. First, you have to have the laws. You have to understand the laws because they're changing.
Depending on what state you're in, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. So how do you have a lawyer on? What did they say on staff? What do you do with a lawyer when you just paying him and he handles everything?
I don't know because I don't have one.
What do they? Trump always says, or somebody always, I got my on retainer. Do you have a? Don't you have to have a weed? You have to have a weed lawyer on retainer, homie. You got to get your high-end weed lawyer on retainer to ready to, fight for your Amish farmers out there, homie.
So I guess I'm doing that myself. So yeah, that's an interesting. This is a fun conversation I could tell you about.
Yeah.
So let's see. Maybe I'm trying to think of time frame here. Back in October. So the hemp industry, as I said, new, it's rocky, it's tough. We're establishing the industry, period. So not just opening a new business, we're talking about we are paving the roads of even manufacturing, of people, the sales outlets, the users, everything. So it's tough. You got to be able to like dig in deep, use your brain, and put in some hard work.
And be real, because there's a lot of shadiness. The CBD market, like when CBD people would hit me up, hey Rob, what's up with CBD? Because they know I've been around the cannabis community for so long. And I'm like, dude, some of this truck stop stuff do not touch, some of this stuff is really bad. Like everybody just jumped on the buzzword and all of a sudden at the bodega, they had CBD products, but some of those products I would eat and they would make me feel like shit, man. They weren't good.
Yeah, there is a big problem with that. Proper dosing and or just flat out mislabeling, to be honest. A lot of those bodega kind of products are probably maybe hemp seed oil that don't even have real CBD percentages in them.
Wow.
Like, so if you go on Amazon, you cannot buy legit CBD oil. You will get hemp seed oil. So if you're buying CBD products from Amazon, I would say as a personal recommendation, stop it. Don't waste your money. Find a local supplier or support Lancashire. But if you have another, local shop, support your local shop. But get the real stuff, because a major difference on that.
Yeah, major difference. And that goes back to the environment and the way it's prepared. And like I said, the tea really feels earthy. Like it really has a natural, like I'm at grandma's house and I'm about to pet a cat, looking at a tree. Like it really has that good. You could just tell when things are good. You could tell when things are natural. When you could tell when a tomato's full of GMOs and the one that's just been grown in a dope ass, backyard with somebody with love and good care. You could just look at them and just even their vibration of that object. You could tell which is which. And the same thing with toxic people. You gotta. One thing with meditation, I've been thinking, not to go off, but conceptual thinking. One thing is we have to I'm trying to let go of conceptual thinking. Does that make any sense? It's like we have
how do you personally define conceptual thinking so I'm on the same page?
It's everything. Words. How I'm feeling about words. So is this a cup? Is it really a cup? I say it's a cup. But it's really minerals and rock and what is it really in the bigger picture, Right. And I think about that because it's the labeling. They say suffering happens in the labeling of stuff. When you start labeling and naming, we're this, we're that, we're this. But at the same time, we're just this miracle of light that's exploding.
Yeah, that is cool. Another way I've heard that said is we suffer when we put attachment to labels and feelings. So, if you're feeling a way, that's fine. That doesn't mean you are that feeling. You know what I mean? Don't hold on to it. Don't attach your identity to it.
We have to go through those feelings and we have to work with those feelings. And cannabis can help you look and work through those things. People talk about having panic attacks and stuff like that. And you're messing with your consciousness when you mess with THC a little bit. So you have to be, I think the more people that are aware of consciousness before they start messing with this stuff in terms of like, psychedelic cannabis, the more they could see it for what it really is, the safer it will be for everybody in society. That's all,
I agree.
I don't want to go too deep on all my stuff.
No, it's very true. It is a medicine, and that's why I do like to use that word medicine, because there is a proper way to do it, and then there is a improper way. And that's very true, because we are dealing with
in humor, in comedy, we're going through a lot of like punching down or being mean. Humor is a self-defense mechanism. So you could use it two different ways. You could just rip on somebody and tear them apart, or you could, bring levity to rough situation.
Yes. Yep.
But the same thing, I'm just thinking everything has a darkness and lightness. So it's like, yeah, the cannabis industry, we're excited about everything, but I'm glad people like you that are organic, that are working with farmers hand. You're not about the dollar bill. You're not making rap videos on tractors out there. You're actually getting down and, growing this stuff and giving love back into the soil and using the land, not just for highways and fucking malls and bullshit like that, like literally using it to create life and food.
Yeah. It's really beautiful. If anyone's ever in the area, just drive around Lancaster County. You get to see a lot of really beautiful sites like that.
And you're only like 2 hours away from New York. I would Google mapped it. What is it?
It's about 2.5 to 3 hours. It's not bad.
Not bad. And this used to be a dairy place. Am I right? So this was a dairy. So there was cows there, right?
Yeah. So dairy is really big in Lancaster, or I'll say was. And because of the, recent, 10, 20 years of dairy kind of struggles, a lot of these farmers have not been able to sustain dairy because of, kind of the mass production of milk. Again, when things get taken to that, like monopoly mass production, the small guys, they are the first ones to suffer. And a lot of them have looked to hemp growing as a cash crop to save the farm and, kind of rebuild, which is hard because you don't want anyone to ever be in that spot, especially on a new industry that's rocky, because you're like, hey, there's a lot of potential here, but also we got to be smart about it. Don't, risk too much because it could be a while before you get a lot of money back. It's a slow grind right now for anybody out there in general, probably, but specifically for us in Lancashire, it's just that, sale after sale, so we can again distribute and just see how big we can go with it.
From cows to weed. I love it, man. From ice cream to healthy cannabis, healthy grown, organic, in the sun. I've said this over and over again on this podcast. Like, I don't like super hydroponic herb. Like, we had to smoke it in the 90s. I understand it, and the smell and the chronic and all that. I like sun grown cannabis. I could feel it in my veins when I know it has been grown outside with real love and real air. I could, I love getting fucked up and all that with super hydroponic. I love that all, and that's cool and all, but there's a time and a place. If I really had to sit down and roll a joint, I want the stuff to be grown out in the sun, and just so I appreciate nature, and I appreciate you. I know how hard this is, Caleb, and how you began from your childhood, and it's just a beautiful, cool, awesome, uplifting story. And I appreciate your time, and I appreciate what you're doing. And I'm not just kissing your ass so I want more tea. I'm just saying this is good tea. I like the tea. And I would have it. I think a bag of this should be in every kitchen cabinet, because caffeine isn't the end all and be all. And I do think high blood pressure is a real deal. Holyfield, like, you got to, can you tell us, do you know the benefits of your tea? That's what I wanted to maybe tap into.
Yeah. The tea is great because it is, like you said, kind of lowers your blood pressure. Now, and I'm always cautious to say, obviously, we still don't have the FDA approval of a lot of these things, but I personally am like, I don't care about the FDA at this point. I've seen real life results in my life. I see it in people that use our products. So I'm not going to make any crazy medical claims, but I'm going to say you're going to experience those, those calming effects, lower anxiety, lowering your blood pressure. And that should talk to anybody that.
My joints, like my knees always ache now. I'm 47, so my knees ache. Like, I live on the 3rd floor, so I'm running, man. I'm going hard in the paint. So I need this. I need the CBD to help my joints move. And if I don't have it, I could tell. That's what I think. Loose leaf hemp tea is just something good to have in your kitchen cupboard. If you really, if it's like having baking soda, I think that's what I think it should get to a normalization of, because it's not psychoactive. It's just more mellow. It's like a better chamomile.
Right. My goal, and like what I like to equivalate it to, would be, let's replace Tylenol and Advil with CBD.
Yes.
There's no reason, in my opinion, that CBD cannot be it is the exact same thing in a plant-based medicine. And I'm saying that as a non-scientific statement, but it's, from experience of being like, this does the same thing. You have a headache, you want to take 2 Tylenol from pharmaceuticals, or do you want to make a tea, make a cup of hemp tea? I don't know. There's some options.
No, you're 100, and it's going that direction. I will just say a little quick story. Somebody let us borrow their house. This cool this cool lesbian couple that are friends of ours had a place out in Long Island during the pandemic, and we were stuck here. We had no place to go for months and months and months and months and months. But they had a place at the beach, and they let us go there for 5 days. So we went out there and hung out, and I looked in the medicine cabinet, and I just pick up things on society, and in their medicine cabinets, right next to the Tylenol, was a big thing of CBD. It's just getting that normal. Like it should be. CBD should definitely. Taking Advil, I don't know. I mean, that will kill your liver. I know a lot of I knew some hard partying dudes in my 20s, and some people would pop Advil like it was candy, like all day long, and that's gonna kill your liver in your 30s and 40s. You're gonna be like, this thing just fucking rotted that thing out, man. And CBD doesn't,
Yeah, and the good thing that is nice that you can say with a factual statement is, like to say, if you plant an apple seed, there will be an apple tree. If you fill your body with garbage, you will turn into garbage. It's not like there's nothing to argue about here. This is a very simple statement of life. So if you're popping Tylenol your entire life, that is a chemical-based synthetic thing that will eventually catch up. It's just life.
Yeah, the same thing with Diet Coke and a lot of the stuff that we just take for granted. Like I just started using, I'm bummed but I started getting the more expensive deodorant. Are you on to this new organic deodorant thing? Are you still going for the Old Spice? I'm an Old Spice guy, but they say it's got mad aluminum in it. So now I've been buying this $15 deodorant. I just started that, I'm not saying
honest, I don't use deodorant, and I have not used deodorant probably for over 15 years.
I forgot you're Amish. What are you using? Lavender? What do you do? What you got? You got some raw lavender? You're growing some lavender? You rub some lavender underneath there? Are you going?
I don't do anything. Maybe I'm lucky and I don't have an overly stenchy smell. So I'm just lucky where I drink lots of water. I'll show you. This is my jug. This is a half gallon. I literally carry this everywhere with me and try to drink 1 a day. So seriously, just chugging water constantly. So I guess I like to think my body is pure enough that I'm not releasing stinky toxins all the time because I take care of it.
That's dope. Yeah, it's on my stand-up album, but I do say we are just bags of water flying through space. We literally,
I like that.
I mean, we're literally just bags of water, bouncing around on this fucking planet, meeting each other, and it shouldn't be happening. And it's there's no reason why we should be here and being able to do this, but we are. By some miracle, we're dancing this dance in light. And we can't take it for granted. And I think growing cannabis and starting companies and getting out there and talking about, definitely, just the trauma that childhood, everybody has. People think childhood's the best part of life. I would say my 40s and 50s, right now is the best part of my life, and I'm almost 47. Like I feel more myself. You just grow. I'm just telling you, it gets better, and you start to process that trauma, and you start to see what it is, and it's not you, and you get to move forward. And but it is a part of it all. It is a part of it all that we have to learn these lessons, and it's but hopefully the next generations won't have to.
Well, I'd like to speak into that because that's a good segue into some things that I've been kind of learning and kind of awakening to myself is I have a 6-year-old daughter and a 9-month-old son, Penny and Everett. They're amazing. And even just recently, she's growing up and learning to adapt. And, she's like her mom. She's a fireball of energy, which I love. She's just huge as a personality, and she's only 6. And, you're like, how do we create space for her? And one thing that hit me a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh my gosh, like I have a parent mindset towards Penny, my daughter. Like, what if I started thinking about her like an equal? You know what I mean? So, for example, like you're saying, energies and vibes. Everybody is a ball of energy,
Yes.
and energy doesn't have an age. So
No.
Penny, 6, she's got all her energies and vibes inside of her, and she's experiencing very real things, just like you did when you were 6, and I did when I was 6. And we all know that our parents did not treat us like equals. They treated, well, especially for me, I can say my parents in a very conservative biblical home. My dad literally said, like,
I got the belt, man. I was,
yeah. Well, my dad said to me like 3 weeks ago, he was like, honestly, I only most recently realized that like my kids are not my slaves. And he's saying this as like a grown adult. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it felt like growing up. So kind of awakening to that and being like, why do we look at our children in this like, oh, I'm a parent and I'm older, I know more, which those are true things sometimes. But then we kind of create spaces for our kids that are child spaces to say, well, your emotions aren't important enough, or they're not, it's too inconvenient for me to create space for you to feel what you want to feel. So I'm just going to minimize it and be like, no, you're a kid. I'm the mom and dad. You listen to me. And that's something that I've been kind of trying to awaken myself to, is like, man, Penny does not have to experience the trauma that I experienced growing up with not having a voice, being shut down, traumatized, all the things that I know as you as a human being have also had to deal with. And so has every other person that's listening right now. So an encouragement to us all as we awaken together, it's let's create spaces for our children so they don't have to relive a similar type of emotional trauma that we all did, because we can grow and learn and do better.
Oh man, that is brilliant. I love it, man. That is the truth, but we got to teach, and teaching by example is the best way. And I think you're leading the best example in terms of starting a small business, an organic business, an environmentally friendly business, a mentally health beneficial business.
Yeah.
And I wish you the best of luck, man. Caleb, thank you for doing this. What's the next step? We'll wrap it up here. What's the next step in your world?
Right now, like I said earlier, I'm talking with a lot of state politicians, and I am helping and hopefully bringing and manifesting new laws in Pennsylvania with cannabis. So I actually I received a message from the universe, and was like, I am supposed to help do this. I wrote a 10-page bill. I'm not a lawyer. There's so many details, but wrapping it up, that is the future. So I am actively right now in conversations with politicians to change current cannabis laws in Pennsylvania to be more inclusive for everybody, which means farmers, patients, and also to right the wrongs that have been done to Black and minority communities via cannabis, which has been used so wrongly as a tool against, taking voices away in those communities. So to me, that's what's important for the future of Lancashire and also cannabis, is to help make that change now, not, next year. Like, it's about the now, like we said.
Yeah, and you're setting yourself up for next year, and 100%. Caleb, you're so brave and so strong, and I appreciate what you're doing. And thanks for reaching out to get on the podcast, or your people did. I will spread.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I'll have you back on, Caleb, as things go. I would love to come down there and do one from the farm. I want to take the podcast out in the field eventually and really see what it's all about. I have kind of an Anthony Bourdain vision for this project with coffee and cannabis, and mostly just meeting and kicking it and talking plainly. That's why I talk with a lot of slang. I use curse words because I just want to speak. As much as being a lawyer is perfect, you got to get those laws. You're 100%, and I appreciate you doing that. But I think having real core conversations and honest conversations, and not dressing them up as this medical thing, just being like, dude, people are going to smoke pot. We got to make, we can't be throwing everybody in jail, and it could help my grandmother's knees, and it could maybe make some plastic.
Yes. I love all that.
Yeah. Word up to Jack Herrera. Did you ever read that book, The Emperor Has No Clothes?
Oh my gosh, yes. You know what we've been doing? So I bought a copy or two, and I gave it to, I have basically like an Amish partner that's like kind of we do everything together, and he's read it and he bought a copy and is going to start passing it around the Amish community, which is hilarious because again, yeah, people that are put in the work before us, like Jack Harrier, it's getting passed around in almost like a biblical sense. We're like, yo, you got to read this book because it'll like awaken you. So it's very fun.
It's very cool. I haven't ever sat down and read the whole thing myself. I should. But I did get to meet him. I met him a couple times. We did the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam. I got to perform and I met him, and he has a great story. Everybody should check out this book. There's radio shows about him, but it's called The Emperor Has No Clothes. But the story about him was he was a Republican conservative business dude that turned to weed, like is in his 40s. And then he went all in and just was like, dude, what are we doing? Like, this could save the planet environmentally. This could save paper. This could make products for plastic. He had this whole prong, like how this plant could really help the society in so many different ways. And I think right now, back in the day, it used to be like, what's this wacko talking about? But now everybody's like, yo, all of this kind of makes sense and works.
Yep. Yeah, it's been like sitting there almost, like he did a lot of hard work. So thank you to Jack for all of your work, and it is coming to fruition now wherever you are.
All right. Thank you, Caleb Kauffman. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. We're going to wrap it up. That's it. Peace and love, everybody. Thank you very much.
All right.
Anything you want to say?
Nope. I didn't know if you're going to end the video and then we'll end on our own thing, or if I should end the video now.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do that awkward little thing that we just did, but I'll end the video right about now. We'll stay on. Okay. Hold up. Bye, everybody.